Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Paris with a D show. You could have been tuned in to any other channel on your television, but instead you decided to be here with me, and for that I am truly thankful. Today, our guest is a wordsmith that uses his skills to battle on behalf of the community and giving artists a voice and a safe place to express themselves. The author of The Crying Buck and New Definitions, Mr. Donney Rose.
Trigger warning. Poem may contain violent language. Poem may reference images of dead black men, women, and children. Poem may overly use the words black and blood. This liberal usage is not for alliteration purposes, though it may be worth pointing out how neatly the words line up next to each other. Rolls off the tongue as if they were meant to tell our stories, these blood-soaked stories narrated by bullet and brute force. It would be nice to tell this tale of blackness minus all that red, but the poem just won't allow it. Trigger warning. Poem may spark moments of outrage, may cause discomfort, may cause shortness of breath, may cause you to get a little choked up. Poem has Eric Garner on the brain, Tamia Rice on the brain, Michael Brown on the brain, Oscar Grant, Ezell Ford, John Crawford, Renisha McBride, Ayanna Jones, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray, Sandra Bland. Poem may hemorrhage before your very eyes with all this blood on its brain. It has not found a way to stop the bleeding, nor a way to stop writing itself.
All right, thank you, Mr. Donney, for being here today.
Cool, thanks for having me.
And thank you so much for letting me come to the Eclectic Truth the other night. It was actually really awesome.
Indeed.
So it was a woman's poetry reading the other night, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
it was.
and it was actually amazing. It was the first one I've ever went to, and it blew my mind. It was really awesome. So can you actually tell us a little bit about the Eclectic Truth?
Sure.
How you got involved in it?
Yeah, the Eclectic Truth is the weekly poetry slam and open mic. It's put on by a collective called the Baton Rouge Poetry Alliance, which is basically a group of poets and organizers. So a little history about Eclectic Truth. It actually is 13 years old. It began in 2003. Members of the Baton Rouge Poetry Alliance started running that event. Years ago, it's moved around to several places. But my involvement with the Poetry Alliance actually dated back to my days when I was a student at Southern University.
Oh, really?
So yeah, around the year 2000, I want to say, I was a poet on the campus in the famed Mocha Room poetry reading. It's no longer going on, but yeah, it was the weekly poetry reading on campus in the Union, and so I got my start performing right here at Southern on the campus, and from there I started going out to the open mics off campus, and a woman by the name of Mona Webb, who was the president of the Baton Rouge Poetry Alliance, asked me to join, and from there I just started performing poetry on the local scene, going to local poetry slams, and as I said, in 2003, the Baton Rouge Poetry Alliance established what is now known as Eclectic Truth. So it's moved around to a lot of different places. There's been a lot of poets come and go, a lot of members cycle in and out. I am considered a slam paw.
Okay.
because I've been around for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much my history with Eclectic Truth. It goes on every Tuesday at the Arts Council of Greater Baton Rouge, and it is a home of some of the best poets in the country.
Now, do you actually allow anybody to come and slam?
Yeah. The slam is always open with the exception of a couple of times throughout the year.
Okay.
So we do what's called a slam season, and basically the way that works is every week someone can come out and get in the slam and accumulate points. Okay. So there's the points that you get in the actual competition, and there's points that you get based on your placement. So if you place first, you get 4 points out of the night. You place second, you get 3, etc., etc. Okay. Every 7 weeks, we do a cash slam. And so we track the season based on accumulated points people got each week. So if you're in the top 12, I want to say, you can participate in the cash slam where you can win money that night.
Wow. Okay.
So that happens every 7 weeks. And then a few other major things that take place throughout the course of the year. Every February, we select a team of 4 to 5 poets that will compete at the National Poetry Slam competition.
Okay.
And so the National Poetry Slam is an event that's been going on for over 25 years. It circulates to different cities throughout the year.
Yeah.
And for the last, I want to say, 15 years, Baton Rouge has sent a team to compete at nationals.
Okay.
So that's one event. Another event, which I came back from a couple of weeks ago, the individual World Poetry Slam.
Right.
The Collective Truth selects a representative for that as well. And then the event that you went to, we send a representative to the Women of the World Poetry Slam, which is an all-woman slam that takes place annually.
I have to teach him the do's and don'ts on how to survive like baby. If a cop tells you to get out of the street, forget all of your amendments and get out of the street. If the cop asks you where you're going, you stop in your tracks, pull your hoodie back and answer him. No eye contact, baby. You keep them eyes focused on the ground. Don't stand your ground. Cops always angry when black man eyes him. Baby, keep them Skittles in your pocket. Keep your hands in sight. If cop corners you, don't fight. If he grabs your throat in a chokehold of frustration, don't fight. Drop dead, play possum. Cop always angry at black man's fight. Cop gotta kill black man. Black man like God, all big, strong, protective, and misunderstood.
So can we just backtrack a little? Can you actually tell us a little bit about the individual World Poetry Slam?
Sure. So the individual World Poetry Slam is an event. This year it consisted of 97 poets from mainly in the continental U.S., some from outside of the country. And it is a 4-day festival with workshops and things of that nature, but it's essentially a slam tournament. So what happens is one night poets perform 4-minute poems and 1-minute poems, meaning that your poems cannot exceed 4 minutes or 1 minute.
Okay.
So there's 2 rounds. There's a 4-minute round and a 1-minute round. The next night there's a 2-minute round and a 3-minute round. And from that, the poets who rank the highest from those nights cumulatively move on to the finals.
Okay.
And the finals consist of the top 14 out of 97 poets in the competition. I didn't make the finals, but
it had to be a great experience.
yeah, it was amazing. It was my second time going to it. I went in 2012, and it was great. The guy, a friend of mine who I actually shared a room with out there, placed 4th in the competition.
Out of 97?
Yeah, he placed
awesome.
4th, and it was pretty cool because I was helping him after I was not able to advance. I was helping him, and at the end, like, he gave me his 4th place trophy.
Oh,
so
thank you for so much help.
Yeah. So it was weird because I was walking through the airport on the way coming back to Baton Rouge, and people were like, "Congrats!" And I was like, "I didn't really win anything," but yeah, sure.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take
okay,
it.
we'll go with that.
All right. So moving on a little bit. Actually, how we met was through the Big Buddy program.
Yes.
Through a little bit of poetry. Can you actually tell us your experience with the children and how that actually helps or how the arts actually helps children?
Yeah. So I started working with the Big Buddy program in 2007. Working with a program within Big Buddy called Wordplay, and Wordplay is, well, it was formerly known as Wordplay. It's now known as Forward Arts. All right. So Wordplay is a youth spoken word program where teaching artists go into the classroom and teach creative writing workshops to middle and high school age students. We also do an after school writing program called Word Crew, which consists of a collective of youth poets in the city between the ages of 13 and 19. We do a monthly teen open mic called Fresh Heat. We do an annual teen poetry slam festival called All City. Just this past year, we implemented a new program called the Baton Rouge Youth Poet Laureate Program. So now the city actually has 2 youth poet laureates.
Oh, wow.
So that's great.
Is anybody allowed, or are any children allowed to come to these slams?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's open to the public. We actually have one, I don't know when this airs, but we have one tomorrow, Thursday, October 27th at McKinley High School.
Okay.
So my background, as I said, began with that in 2007. And what I've seen over the course of the last going on 10 years is young people find their identity within spoken word. So we have youth that walk the halls at their high school and they're known as the poet, right? In the same way that someone else may be known as the cheerleader or the quarterback or whatever like that. So the greatest thing that we've seen is young people gain a sense of self sense of advocacy and a voice. And the cool thing about it is that there's even been a few young people out of our program go to college on full scholarships based on spoken word. So there's a program in Wisconsin called First Wave at the University of Madison, Wisconsin, which is basically a program that gives scholarships for spoken word and hip hop art.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've had 4 young people from our program receive full scholarships to go to the University of Madison, Wisconsin. So, yeah.
So how do they get involved? How can the children or the parents get these children involved?
Yeah, so the basic information I can give, we have a website which is www.forwardarts.org, FORWARD arts.org.
Okay.
And it gives all of our up-to-date information of what we have going on. So as I mentioned, we have our monthly Teen Open Mic Fresh Heat on Thursday, October 27th, and then on Saturday, October 29th, we're doing a slam in partnership with the Louisiana Book Festival. And it's our 4th year partnering with the Book Festival for that.
Okay.
So forwardarts.org gives all of the information of what we have going on programmatically.
All right. Well, so speaking of books, you actually have a couple of books yourself. How did you come about doing the Crying Buck and New Definitions?
So with the Crying Buck, around 2013, I started writing a lot of the poems that would become of the Crying Buck. In 2014, I became very ill for a period of time. Did not know what was going on. I was eventually diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. But at the time, my body was kind of acting weird, shutting down because I didn't know, what was happening. And so a local publisher came to me and was like, I want to put out a book of your work. Do you have anything lying around? And so I had been amassing these poems over the last 2 to 3 years. And I realized they all had a similar theme. And so thematically they were dealing with black masculinity as far as vulnerability was concerned, as far as depression was concerned, as far as like emotional distress were concerned. So I had, a number of poems, and I put them together, and I sent it to the local publisher, and they worked with me on design, on sequence, on formatting, and we pieced it together, and it came out last year.
Okay.
As far as New Definitions, that was a collection of poems that I brought to the individual World Poetry Slam.
Okay.
So those were poems that were fresh as of this year.
Yeah, all right.
And,
is that book already out? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that came out. I put that out a couple of weeks before I went to the individual World Poetry Slam. And it essentially was to serve as a fundraiser.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I may have maybe 3 copies of those yet left. I'm not even sure if I plan on reprinting them.
Okay.
They were just more so for the purpose of fundraising. But the Crying Buck is still in existence.
And where can you get that?
That's on my website, which is Donney, Donney, Rose.com, R-O-S-E, DonneyRose.com. They can be ordered there.
Okay.
If you happen to run into me in the streets in Baton Rouge, I may have them on me. Ironically, I don't have them on me now.
Yeah.
But I usually have them on me, but definitely on my website.
So after hellacious summer, can you tell us how it was dealing with everything this summer with Alton and the protests and how'd that go for you?
The summer was heavy.
It really was. I saw you had a couple things here on campus.
Yeah, the summer was heavy. It was a traumatic time. I can give you the timeline of what happened for me personally. Of course, on July 5th, Alton Sterling was murdered, and then we started seeing protests take place. The following week, we took a group of 5 young women to the International Poetry Slam Festival, Brave New Voices, which is a youth poetry slam festival. These 5 young women were selected after our All-City Teen Poetry Slam Festival, which takes place in the spring. So we brought a group of 5 to that, and when we're out there, of course, there's young poets from all across the world. It's the week after the Alton Sterling murder, so they're asking our youth, what's going on in Baton Rouge or whatever, because it's all over the news. So there was a young woman on our team named Kaya. Kaya was actually scheduled to start at Southern University this fall.
Oh, wow.
So, Kaya dedicated her poem to the memory of Alton Sterling. Um, so, fast forward, July 17th, when we were returning from Brave New Voices, this is the same day that the police officers were killed, right? So we touched down to that news, and then 4 days after that, the young woman Kaya was found non-responsive by her godmother and passed away. So the ultimate tragedy about that, Kaya stayed behind. So the festival was in Washington D.C. Brave New Voices. We brought the other young poets back home. Kaya stayed in the Baltimore area with her godmother. So the last time her mother saw her was before she left to go to Brave New Voices with us. So her mother was getting information from her godmother, pretty much saying like, we found Kaya non-responsive. We're taking her to the hospital. Her blood pressure is falling, and the next thing we know, she passes. Right. The day that Kaya passed away, she was scheduled to head back to Baton Rouge for honors college orientation here at Southern.
Seriously.
Yes.
Wow.
So, so for us, I like to say that the grief went from being local to hyper-local. So the localized grief was that of Alton Sterling, how that impacted our community, how that impacted our young people, some of whom were out protesting, getting pepper sprayed, and all of that. Like, you know, we had young people. Yeah, we had young people in the mix, like going through that.
Yeah.
That were part of our programming. So it went from being local grief to hyper-local grief when Kaya passed. And to continue in like this kind of series of traumatic events. So 2 weeks after Kaya passed, we have a memorial service for her. It was a beautiful youth open mic where like hundreds of her peers were there. And then we had the service, her family had the actual service for her. The week after her service is when the Great Flood happened. So, myself and a lot of my colleagues and constituents went through essentially about a 45-day period of just like traumatic events back to back to back.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how the summer was on my end.
I know she touched a lot of lives. I didn't know her personally, but everybody that I surrounded myself with knew her. Kaya
didn't meet a stranger.
Yeah.
Everyone that came into her sphere, she embraced them and showed them, you know, love. And she was extremely mature beyond her age. She was only 18 years old, and she was about to start, you know, here at Southern.
Yeah.
So
missed out on that.
yeah, so it was a rough time, and I'm kind of now processing a lot of that stuff on the back end. So, for example, at the Individual World Poetry Slam, I did a poem, which is in the chapbook New Definitions, where I took a bunch of tweets that I tweeted during the summer, and I compiled them into a poem, and what's called a found poem. And a found poem is basically when you take text that's already in existence and shape it into a poem. So in that case, I took tweets that I sent out between July and mid-August and framed it into a poem. That poem got me a perfect score at the Individual World Poetry Slam.
Oh yeah, we need new definitions to come out for sure.
Yeah.
We need to see that.
Yeah, so the poem got a perfect score, and the last line of the poem, I say, I quote from July 25th, and I'm saying, July 25th, I'm still trying to write, this summer has been a lot, still processing. And so that's just kind of like where I was and where I have been and where I still am, you know. Even talking about all of this, it feels surreal to say that over the course of 45 days, all of these things happened at one time. And, you know, the eyes of the nation and the eyes of the world were on Baton Rouge during that time. So when you talk about Alton Sterling, when you talk about the police officers, when you talk about the flood, you're talking about worldwide attention. But when you're talking about the passing of Kaya, well then now the lens is super narrow. And now it's directly just impacting, you know, her friends, her families, her mentors, the people in her immediate community. And we're dealing with that in the thick of everything else that's happening. And it falls like smack in the middle of this hellacious summer.
Definitely. So moving forward, like what do you want to come out of all of this? Maybe 2017, let 2016 go, because
Yeah.
been
So
enough.
one thing one good that came out of this, our organization Forward Arts was contracted to go into every middle and high school in East Baton Rouge Parish to do creative writing workshops,
Okay.
and a lot of it was to address to allow young people to have the agency to address, the trauma of the
happened.
summer
Mm-hmm.
through writing.
Yes.
So that's a great thing.
Did it start already?
Yeah, we've
you're
all
through it? Okay.
yeah. I'm teaching in a class every day of the week.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
And your personal life, what do you plan to have happen? Maybe another book or
Yeah,
or summer or poetry
yeah.
slams?
Hopefully, so right now, I entered a writing contest through Button Poetry, and Button Poetry is the largest producer of spoken word content. They have a YouTube channel with millions and millions and millions of views on like a couple of hundred videos that they put up. So they sent out a call for a chapbook submission contest back in August, and I submitted to that. So I'm just kind of waiting to see, what the results of that will be. If I'm a finalist based on my manuscript, well then that allows a really great opportunity. So fingers are crossed about that. I don't really know how that'll play out. But even if I don't get that, I hope to release another manuscript worth of work in 2017. Because like I said, with the new definitions thing, that was just very short to put together something as a fundraiser. So the next manuscript that I actually would have out, either if it's through Button Poetry or if it's through another outlet, it would basically be a longer form follow-up to The Crying Buck.
Okay.
So
We'll definitely be looking forward to
yeah,
that.
I'm hoping that happens. As far as slamming is concerned, I think when I left the IWIPS, which is Individual World Poetry Slam, I think that I kind of retired from the national slam scene because
Okay.
I've done it for a long time.
Yeah.
And
Are you going to continue to slam at Eclectic Church?
yeah,
once in a while?
I'm gonna continue to participate locally and even possibly regionally. But for one, slam can be, even though it's poetry, it's performance art, so it can be taxing on the body, first and foremost. But beyond that, we have a generation of amazing up-and-coming youth poets. Folks between the age of like 18 and 25 that are at Eclectic Truth every week that are killing it, and that are amazing. And so I want to be able to allow space for those young people to experience what I have.
Yeah.
Not saying that they could not beat me for the opportunity, because they could.
Yeah.
But to even make it even easier, I'm just going to be, the slam Paul is going to step back and,
Slam Paul. I love it.
offer tutelage and offer guidance. I think at this point, the best way I can serve my community is as a mentor,
Yeah.
as a writer, but, not as someone that's trying to be in the slam spotlight.
Yeah.
It's a cyclical thing anyway. Poets cycle in and out of poetry slam all the time, but people are writers forever.
Thank you, Mr. Donney Rose, for being here today. And thank you, beautiful people, for watching the Paris with the D show. If you did want to get one of Mr. Donney's books, you can just head over to DonneyRose.com. And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, just hashtag Paris with the D show. Until next time, stay true.